The issue of selling shares in private companies often raises additional questions among investors. That's only natural, since the mechanisms for such transactions differ from the usual exchange-traded instruments, and aren't always obvious at first glance. Many investors think that if a company doesn't go public through an IPO, then its shares can't be sold at all. But in reality, that's a myth. An IPO is just one way to sell shares, and by no means the only one. In fact, shares of private companies are bought and sold every day around the world. That's what the over-the-counter, OTC, market is for. These are transactions made directly between the seller and the buyer, without going through the stock exchange. The process is simple. The parties sign a purchase and sale agreement. The transaction is certified by a registrar or notary, and then the new owner is entered into the shareholder register. This approach is widely used in startups and venture companies, allowing investors to buy and sell shares without the risk of stock market fluctuations, since they remain outside of IPOs and the open market. When SOLARGROUp is converted from an LLC to a joint stock company, the Central Bank of Russia will issue shares. A specialized registrar will keep track of them. You will be able to sell shares directly to another investor through an internal platform or bulletin board, via the over-the-counter market. The system is simple. You find a buyer, sign a contract, submit an order to the registrar, and the new owner is entered into the register. These are legal and transparent transactions carried out within the framework of current legislation. Investors often ask, "I've heard that the law forbids selling shares to a new person if they're not already a shareholder. Is that true?" Our answer, no, it's not forbidden. The law on joint stock companies has a rule. If a shareholder wants to sell their shares, they must first offer them to other shareholders or to the company itself. This is called the preemptive right of purchase. If the shareholders don't use their right, the shares can be sold to any new investor. In other words, the law doesn't prohibit the sale, it just gives current shareholders the first chance to decide if they want to increase their stake or not. An IPO is a showcase, but it's not the only way to sell. SOLARGROUp investors will have shares that can be sold on the over-the-counter market. This is standard international practice. It's important to remember, the law only regulates the procedure, but selling shares is possible. You will have every opportunity to manage your asset as you see fit. That's exactly why the absence of an IPO shouldn't be seen as a problem. Shares can be sold without it, which in some cases is even more convenient for the owners.